A very wholehearted welcome to everybody who's joining us today, or to anyone who's watching this later on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to see all of our good stuff. I'm a big fan of SFA and the fancy food shows. We recently were with them at the one in New York, and it was just a huge win for our whole community. That I think, because of the momentum that we've built up and all of the awesome brands that we represent, SFA became really interested in working with us to make sure that we're bringing representation from our community there. And then we love to work with you guys to make sure you have a great experience at the show, which means buyers. We want to get the buyers there to our section. And so this year in New York, for the first time, we had this huge, beautiful section with 20 of our brands. And we love to work with SFA to make sure we get you guys like the lowest entry level price, which would be tabletops, because that's all I ever want. Like, just get me there, have me a place to put my product, and I'll make it happen. So we did that with them, and it was so good. Every brand in our section had the best experience. And then we obviously are there getting the buyers to come around, walking them around. They're finding just, that they love our section there, and we're doing matching with brands. And so we were really excited to deepen this partnership with SFA ahead of the winter fancy food show, which I've been to a bunch of times. It used to be in San Francisco back in the day, and now it's in Vegas. And so I was there last year, and it's a special show because, it's not like crazy packed like some other shows you might go to, and it's like focused. You have brands and you have buyers, and they're good buyers. And I used to run a beverage company based on the West Coast, and we wanted those West Coast chains, and they were there. And you actually get like, for a lot of them, it was the first time I really got a long conversation with them, even just like walking the show. Like, I didn't have a booth there, unfortunately, but that would have been a lot better. But even just like getting to see them there. But so today, what we're going to do is go through an overview of the show, because probably a lot of you guys haven't been. So I want you to just see what it's like to actually be there, learn more about the show, learn more about SFA and the membership benefits. And we've also we've got Leana from SFA who's going to take us through all of that. We've also got Eric here, and Eric and his brand Sobo Foods. You might have seen us, like you might have listened to his podcast episode with us, but we actually got to hang out at the show last year. He was there as part of the included section, which was beautiful. It was a beautiful section. These guys killed it at the show. They were the talk of the town, and I did a nice video. You might have seen that one on our Instagram. So he's going to talk about his experience being there, also to share that with you guys. And probably one of the things that you guys are all here waiting for. So towards the end of the presentation, we will show the QR code and link where you can go to apply for the giveaway. So we're only limiting it to people who are here at the webinar, so that you can go there and apply for the giveaway, and then we'll announce the winner pretty quickly. And that is for a tabletop in our Startup CPG section, where we'll be doing all the good stuff. And then we also have some really cool other news, which Leana can share with you guys, but they are actually going to be opening up some extra space that people can sign up for that will be kind of adjacent to our section at the entry level price, which is what we like, because that's what we want as early brands. All right, longest intro ever. I'm sorry about that, but so Leana, I'm gonna pass it over to you, and thank you guys so much for making this cool space for us. Like, we kill it in that section. It looks so good. Like, the brands crush it with the retailers coming around. So thank you for all of your support of our community, and especially the giveaway, and then making the section bigger and all the stuff.
Absolutely. And thank you, Daniel. I mean, this partnership's been wonderful for us. You guys bring a ton of energy along with just some really super great products to the show floor. So we're delighted to continue working together. As you mentioned, a lot of folks on the call may not have been to the Winter Fancy Food Show. So just to give you a quick little taste, I'll start off with a video here.
What an amazing few days we've had here in Las Vegas at the food industry's kickoff event of the year, the Winter Fancy Food Show.
All right. So couple of messaging points in there that I just want to call out. One is just a reminder that, we get to be the first food expo of the year. We're there in January out in Vegas, but we kind of get to set the tone for everything that comes for the entire year in 2025. So we love that position, and we love the idea that, the products that come to our show are really setting up for the future. They're really kind of those things that are bubbling up into the trends that will eventually become ubiquitous. The trade show floor that we present really gives you a good look at kind of the future of where the consumer is headed, and all of you are certainly a huge part of that. So a little bit of background on the Specialty Food Association. I'm not sure outside of the shows. But we've been around for a while, established in 1952, and we're a not-for-profit organization, which means that we are here to serve the industry. We are by the industry for the industry. And we do not do profit sharing or shareholders or any of that. We're not here to make a buck off the back of the industry. We are here to support, nurture, and grow the industry however we can. So we represent the $207 billion specialty food industry. The primary ways that we do that certainly are through the fancy food shows, and then our Sophie Awards, which take place every year. We'll open those up in do industry research and benchmarking. We have education, we have resources, and all kinds of support. And I'll touch on a couple of those things later on, because participating in the show does also bring you into the member community at large for the entire year. So a few fast facts about the Winter Fancy Food Show. So 2024 was our 48th year. So we are about to embark on our 49th show here in 2025. We're in Vegas. We're at about 162,000 square feet, couple hundred press and influencers, which we're going to grow significantly this year. And I'll talk about that later. About 13,000 verified industry participants, 1,000 exhibitors, 36 countries, and certainly, what we're here to talk about today, which is the 25 event, which is January 19th through 21st, 2025. So most important, who attends, right? Who are the buyers that you're going to see on our show floor? So a couple things of note here is Daniel mentioned, this is a smaller show than even our New York show, but certainly some of the others like the Expo West or, the Expo East of years past. But what we lack maybe in size, we make up for in quality and in purchase power. So you see here, we get a huge smattering of retail, distribution, food service, and importers. So all kinds of folks who are there to help you all the way through the supply chain up to and getting your products to the consumer. 89% of our folks are involved in purchasing decisions. So the people on the show floor are the ones who are making decisions about what they're going to be selling. And it's a fairly exclusive audience. We have a lot of folks you see here who don't attend some of the closest competitive shows, whether that's IDDBA, Sweets and Snacks, or Natural Expo Products West. So powerful audience, but also a unique audience. And to give you kind of, go
maybe
ahead,
just like one observation that I'll make about having been to the show is it feels different from like Expo West, let's say, in that like a lot of the brands who attend there, you'll actually see a lot of them as like, oh, like specialty meat and cheese companies. Like there are a lot of those that you wouldn't necessarily see at Expo. They're not like, maybe they're like legacy companies. They're not like ambitious young startups trying to kill it, which I think is very cool because it actually lets you stand out more if you are one of those that's like really hitting it with branding and like have a lot of momentum and excitement. And the buyers know when they come up to those booths that are like that. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's a cool opportunity to stand out, because you don't see as much of that. Eric, what do you think? Is that a fair statement from having exhibited there?
That was definitely going to be something that I would say. And also, do not sleep on the fact that there's a lot of food service folks, a lot of food service decisions.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, a lot of food service buyers for anyone interested in that.
and
Way more.
Yeah, food service represents a huge opportunity for specialty right now, specialty and natural. There's a lot going on in the space that's really exciting. To give you kind of a flavor, these are a handful of brands who are already committed to the 25 show. So not only are these folks who normally would come, they've actually already raised their hand and signed up to join us in Vegas this January. And one of the things that we talk about when we talk about our brands and buyers on the show floor is there is, in the industry, there are those folks who are going to take a chance on new products, who are really looking for things that are different and unique and aren't waiting for products to become established and have all the data behind them before they're willing to stock them and give them a chance in their stores. And those are a lot of the buyers that we spend a lot of time going after, those folks who are really going to help our emerging makers really get to market quickly, that they're going to take a chance, they're going to let you grow at their store and give you the best possible opportunity to succeed. So those are the types of folks that we get to our show, whether it's through the channel that they're from or just through kind of the, mentality of how they view product shopping, but lots and lots of opportunity here.
And one thing I'll highlight is we're going to do a panel, like a main stage panel on Tuesday at the show for Startup CPG, where I'm going to be interviewing buyers from Grocery Outlet, Thrive Market, Bristol Farms, and Whole Foods. And then, as always, we always try to get a bunch of brands to just jump up on stage and do quick pitches. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. So speaking of the Startup CPG Pavilion, just some little photos here to show you the kind of energy and, excitement that was really permeating through that area. So I think being a part of this is a real high visibility opportunity for the entire community, to get in front of these buyers, but get in front of them in a really kind of organic and fun way. So I just wanted to give you a flavor of, what takes place there, as I'm sure you can imagine with Daniel at the helm here and his team.
Thank you for that huge banner. We love it.
Totally. Something new that we're doing this year is the Tastemaker Conference co-location. So Tastemaker Conference is a food influencer conference. I've known the CEO for several years, and she does an annual event that brings about 400 food influencers and content creators together. And they talk about the business of food influence and whatnot. And these aren't the influencers who are, standing in front of booths or taking pictures of their food saying, look where I am, don't you wish you had my life? These are the people who are really out there building their audiences on the backs of being able to introduce new products, new ideas, new flavors, new trends, and who develop recipes for their audience. So these are folks who come in and they're very interested in amplifying to their reach what the next big thing is, which is all of you on this phone call. And, there's a couple different opportunities here. Number one, we expect there to be a ton of amplification of what's going on at the show through all of these folks being with us. But the other piece of it is we're going to set up opportunities for brands to actually meet with some of these influencers to see if there might be opportunities for partnership for influencer marketing. So another, possible way to use the show to get a leg up as you move forward into 2025. A few things outside of just exhibiting that actually come along with the Winter Fancy Food Show. We have an agreement with a company called Pola Marketing, that is our alliance. And what they do is they are actually offering complimentary photo shoots for all of our SFA members at the Winter Fancy Food Show. They did this at summer. Now, some of them, they got so much demand, they actually had to have a lot of products shipped to them after the fact and done. But here is just kind of a smattering of some of the samples that they did for us for our Sophie Awards. And this is something they're doing completely complimentary for SFA members, which, as I mentioned, by virtue of participating in the Fancy Food Show, you actually do get membership for an entire year.
Oh, Leana, just as we're going through, one point of order. So for anyone joining late, I just wanted to give you the heads up. We're going through this awesome presentation, learning about the Fancy Food Show. Towards the end of these slides, we'll show the link where you can sign up for the giveaway. Very excited to see who wins that one. And I also wanted to mention, Leana, Leana and the team, they have actually unlocked a lot of the entry-level tabletops. So a lot of brands who wanted to be in our section, but we only had 20 booths, they're actually going to make more available at that very low price point. How can people follow up with that? Should they just go to the website like usual and sign up, or should they email you guys, or what's the best?
They can certainly go to the website. Towards the end of the presentation, there's a slide with all of our sales contacts on it. So based on where you are geographically, it'll tell you exactly who to reach out to.
Okay, awesome. And then maybe, Delia, maybe if you could grab that and put it in the chat also, just in case people want to get started on it. Okay, cool.
All right. Okay, another piece that we're introducing this year for the first time is what we're calling Ask the Experts. And this is a space, the rendering here doesn't look particularly exciting. I promise it's going to be very vibrant and energetic. This is just the renderings you get from the trade show folks. But Ask the Experts is an area where we are bringing together consultants and experts in a whole bunch of different business areas, including all of the ones listed on this slide, to actually take on either small group or one-on-one meetings that you can sign up for and have a live consultation with folks in these different areas about what's going on with your business, what you might need help with, and get some answers right there on the spot. So a lot of ways between this and the photo shoots to kind of build your brand and build your, business toolkit, if you will, while you're meeting with all of these fabulous buyers and getting your brand out to the world. Maker prep course. So this is kind of our education on steroids for early stage makers. And I'm sure the folks on this call kind of run the gamut from just starting out to, maybe been doing this for a year or two. But our maker prep course is, it is a series of live, interactive, and then also video-based asynchronous learning that covers every single basic you could possibly think of that you need to know in order to get a food business up and running. So we have created an environment where we kick off a new maker prep class or cohort at every show. And then at the following show, that cohort graduates together. So we started this in the summer of 24. So that group is currently going through the curriculum, and they have different touch bases with the instructors, different touch bases with one another throughout the year to keep going through the materials and answer questions and take quizzes. And then ultimately they are all on track to graduate at the winter show, at which time we will also start a new cohort. So if this is a program that folks are interested in participating in or would like more information on, again, we can get to the link to that. You can also go to specialtyfood.com, and it's very easily accessible. So I mentioned SFA membership, broadly. And again, if you do participate in the Startup CPG Pavilion, you are granted SFA membership for the next year. And that gives you access to all kinds of things on a year-round basis. Our mission at the Specialty Food Association is to enhance maker preparedness. So we're here to get you what you need in order to effectively do business and succeed in this industry. So there's all kinds of complimentary resources for members, including educational webinars, trend reports, different industry directories. Certainly the Startup CPG is a huge community in and of itself, but it expands, by virtue of being part of the SFA community. We have mentorship programs, different share group opportunities, and then a number of industry discounts, a few listed here, a few more that we have in the works. So just some different business resources for you to keep going throughout the year in between the fancy food shows. And as I mentioned, the contact information. So we've got 3 different regions geographically in the US. And you'll see we have our 3 reps that correspond. Justin is there in the West, Rita in the Midwest, and then Chris out East. And I think, Delia will drop something in the chat so that you can access this after the presentation. But you do have a dedicated sales manager who will work with you for whatever space you need, whatever, you need to get up and running. If it's your first time exhibiting, it can be a little daunting. So, we're here to help.
And just the price points that we talked about, I know we basically the thing that we love to do is to try to get like the smallest space possible as an entry level price point for people. Yeah. So our section is all tabletops. You saw that in the video, I think at the beginning, and Eric had basically a tabletop also last year. And so you'll get to see what that actually looks like as opposed to like a kind of full booth, which some people might also prefer. Can you remind us kind of the price points for all the stuff, especially since you guys have decided to release a bunch of extra tabletops near us?
Yeah, you bet. So it's a 10 by 5 space, so it's 50 square feet, and the cost is $23.50. And like I said, that includes an entire year of SFA membership. So it's a pretty cost-effective way to come to market. And as you mentioned, Daniel, for the number of buyers you're going to meet and for the kind of relative intimacy of the conversations you're able to have at our show versus some of the larger ones, I think a lot of folks feel like it's a really great bargain. I'm sure Eric does.
Cool. And then if you want a bigger booth, obviously those options are out there as well, where you can get like a 10 by 10 or 8 by 10 or whatever it is.
Yeah. All right. So on to the booth giveaway. You want to talk this up a little bit, Daniel?
Yes. All right. Well, what's even better than $23.50 is 0, which is what one lucky brand is going to get to pay. So you can either click the link here, just bit.ly/CPGfancy, or you can scan the QR code if you want to do it from your phone here. And this is going to invite you to just enter in some basic details, and you will be entered in for the giveaway. And what you will get is one tabletop in the exciting Startup CPG section under that beautiful banner. And then my job at the show is just to make sure you have an even better experience than anybody else in any other section, because we want all the best buyers coming around, meeting you guys. And there's a lot of fun stuff that we do at the event. Anyone who's been at the trade shows with us knows this is my job, to do fun stuff basically at shows. And so a couple things that you're going to see. Sunday, we'll be kicking it off we actually have a female founder lounge that we're doing for the first time ever with SFA. So they have this very cool new space that kind of is like somewhere in between like a stage and a tea room, and it looked really cool. And so we're going to basically make this part of our new Further CPG initiative and make it a female founder lounge. So we're going to do pitch practice with some really cool people that you want to meet in there. You get to go practice your pitch, a retailer panel, and just a very wonderful female founder mixer. So we're really excited to bring that part of community to the show. So thank you for SFA for giving us that opportunity. And then, we'll be in our section doing our thing all day. Monday is going to be a pretty cool day. At night, we are going to have our flagship party. Like we always try to plan a really cool party. And we aren't ready to announce the venue yet, but we just found a really cool one today that I think is going to be great. So I'm excited to announce that. And then Tuesday, we'll do that main stage panel with those retailers that I mentioned before. And probably we'll think of a bunch of other fun stuff to do as well. So you'll get to participate in all of that, but anyone also just attending the show will get to do all of that stuff as well. But I'm excited to see who wins the booth also.
And now I think we're going to chat a little bit with Eric, who's had some great experience at the Fancy Food Show.
And maybe while Eric is warming up, I really just want to say Eric killed it at the show last year. Like the included section was very beautiful and just really stood out, which is like really inspiration for us because we want to just accomplish the same thing that they did. Everybody was talking about it. But Eric as a brand new brand there was just like absolutely turning heads, and the product's amazing. Our team like goes nuts for this product, especially. So yeah, you guys are hearing from the master.
Thank you. You flatter me. Appreciate that. Fancy Food was super fun for us. And just for anyone who doesn't know, we make frozen dumplings. So we were out there with our hot plate cooking up hot stickers for many, many thousands of trade show attendees. Everything we do is 100% plant-based, high protein, high fiber, tons of veggies. And we had the really special privilege of going to the Winter Fancy Food Show at the beginning of the year with Included CPG, which for those of you who don't know is an amazing network group of entrepreneurs and CPG founders, and it's focused on founders of color. So we were in the Included CPG section. You can see in the back of this photo here, the red carpet. This was where I believe it was 10 or 12 brands, all led by founders of color, were able to get a free booth to the Fancy Food Show. So there are a lot of really cool opportunities. I think one of my big takeaways from going to the Fancy Food Show is, yes, you can go, you can exhibit, you can go to the awesome Startup CPG after party and do all these fun things, but there's so much resource at your disposal if you just apply to stuff, if you just put yourself out there. So we went having actually just launched the brand. We had basically no distribution. It was me driving around the Bay Area where we're based in my dad's Volvo, dropping off frozen dumplings at retailers. And this was our way of kind of getting our feet wet with the world of trade shows, which is, as everyone here, well, most people here probably know, is a crazy, unique, and exhausting world if you're on the trade show circuit. But we wanted to find out what it was like to really jump in the deep end and talk to real buyers, pitch our product for real in front of PR folks, in front of buyers, in front of food service, in front of distributors, and really learn how to do this trade show business right. So we made the great decision of applying to Included CPG and getting the free booth, which was wonderful. But there's not just Included out there. There's Startup CPG, which is offering this amazing booth giveaway, as well as all sorts of other perks. There are other trade organizations that you can apply to, you can look into. There are opportunities at the show itself that even I hadn't heard of. Like I didn't know about this awesome photography opportunity that's being offered for free. As well as we did the Fancy Face Off, which was a pitch competition at the Fancy Food Show. So definitely apply to things like that, because once you're there at the trade show, it's going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. You got too much going on, but you still want to really kind of push yourself to the limit to maximize all the opportunities that you have there for eyeballs, for PR, for brand awareness. Because for us, again, we went in having not that much distribution. We knew that this wasn't going to be necessarily a show for us where people were going to be writing us POs on the show floor, although that does, of course, happen for other brands. So we wanted to make sure that we're maximizing the eyeballs. So we did the Fancy Face-Off pitch competition. I was up there on stage with hundreds of people at the end of the show, all watching us pitch our product. And there was PR opportunities associated with it. We got a bunch of local press, local food influencers from all across California, where we're based, came up to us. And then, of course, the tangible tactical stuff that most people think of when they think about going to a trade show, like talking to buyers. So for us, we were starting from a standing start, right? Zero distribution, very few points of retail locations here in the Bay Area. But we had conversations with KeHE, with UNFI, the two big distributors, obviously. KeHE, we had previously applied to one of their diversity programs and they had rejected us. But then all the KeHE reps came, loved the dumplings. You know, Daniel was very kind in saying that it was the talk of the town. I think serving hot food at a trade show generally helps quite a bit. But a lot of KeHE reps came by and then they took the sales sheets, they took all their accolades back to Chicago, where our buyer for the Asian section was. She wasn't able to attend the show, but all of her colleagues came and said, "Hey, have you heard of this brand?" And she said, "Yes, I actually rejected them for this diversity program." But then basically retroactively let us in to new at KeHE. And so we launched across Southern California and Hawaii with KeHE earlier this year, really as a direct result of going to fancy food. So it wasn't like we got a bunch of buyers writing orders, but we had the exposure that allowed us to get a distributor, that allowed us to then open up more retailers. And at this show is also where we met an amazing rep from UNFI, who, contrary to a lot of popular beliefs about UNFI, is actually super easy to work with. Great guy, kind of my age. We just got along really well. He loved the dumplings, and he's the one who really championed us. And now we're getting started with UNFI. And there are also conversations with a number of different buyers from pretty big chains that I first met there, and it didn't really feel like a warm lead. It didn't feel like they were super interested. It didn't feel like they necessarily are going to ever work with us because they weren't super effusive, at the booth. But now, months down the line, they hear about us again, maybe from a broker, maybe from their distributor, and they say, "Hey, actually, I remember that guy. I remember the energy. I remember the food. It's worth a second conversation now because I actually do have this memory of them." So even if it doesn't feel like a really tangible lead, even if you email them back after the show or you email them and reach out after the show and you don't get a response, just keep in mind, these are relationships that are cultivated over a period of a long course of time. And since we were so early, so new, when we first went to the show with our tiny little booth here, it was just like a nice little intro for a lot of people. And in the same way that if you ever have done online advertising before, it takes like 3 or 4 times of popping up on someone's feed or popping up on someone's radar before they actually start to remember you and think about you. That's kind of what it's like going to these shows as well. But of course, for a lot of brands that maybe already have distribution, people are actually writing POs on the show floor too.
Eric, so it's a good point. I think one about just like what is the overall benefit of exhibiting at a trade show, right? Because like I think like me, you are probably somebody who hunts a lot on LinkedIn as well, like does whatever you can do, get scrappy, resourceful, try to sell the product like year round, right? You're not sitting around waiting for the trade show. But the trade show for me, like if you have the budget for it, I like all trade shows because there is just no replacement to like throw a bunch of fuel on the fire for sales than to actually get there and get to talk to some of these people in person, a lot of them for the first time, right? And then they like see you as a person, you get to have a moment of connection, look in their eyes as you pour them a sample or serve them something, and then they'll just like hear your story, maybe in a different light, like you had with KeHE, right? Where they just got to like experience it in a way that they're just not going to get on a LinkedIn message or just like receiving a cold sample. And that's the whole point of like having founders behind these brands and getting the chance to tell your story. So like everyone needs to decide if this is the thing that they want to spend their budget on or if they're even ready to go that fast. But for me, I love trade shows and I just am always like looking forward to them for months. And like I think making sure that I'm going to make the most of it, like a month ahead, like I'm like all those retailers you just saw on on the slide before, like I take a picture of that. I'm hitting them all up on LinkedIn, say like, "Oh, are you going to be there? Come by my booth." Okay. And then like, email them before, text them maybe the morning just in case, like make sure they're going to come by the booth, do all the follow-ups with them. And I think like, yeah, like Eric was saying, for me, you walk out of the show with like every lead you ever wanted. And a lot of them aren't going to go anywhere. You're like, "Oh my God, I've got like 100 leads." Like maybe like, only a third of those materialize like early on or, whatever it is. But that is like how you start the momentum with a lot of this stuff. And man, I don't, in this game, like one door leads to another. If you are like an ambitious startup and you're trying to like start piling these things on and get the momentum, man, Eric, like getting KeHE and UNFI from a show for me, that even if I didn't like get a big retail authorization, that would be a pretty big win for me in terms of accelerating my overall timeline. What do you think? Am I talking nonsense or are you with me?
No, that's exactly how we felt about it. And for anybody, if you want any more like sort of nitty-gritty tactical advice, please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Sobo Foods and just send us a DM. I can send you some photos of our booth setup. I can tell you exactly how many servings we brought. I can send you links from the serving cups that we brought. I can tell you where, we got all of our marketing materials printed. I can tell you what sort of shoes to wear. Like just feel free to reach out at Sobo Foods is our Instagram account, and then just DM us, and I can send you photos from our setup and anything that you would need there. There's definitely, as Daniel said, there's a playbook of how you should lead up to a trade show like this, and really make sure that you're getting as many eyeballs and foot traffic as possible on the day of.
I love it. And I mean, Eric is a super pro. For anyone who hasn't heard the podcast that we did with him, I really recommend it. Not his first rodeo, as probably a lot of you guys can guess. Um, so yeah, definitely check out that content. Maybe we'll do some more kind of leading up to it, but just, good for people to understand and like have your expectations kind of going into it of what you can accomplish at a show like this. And for anyone who missed it, so they did drop the contacts for people from SFA if you guys want to reach out to them. So, one person will win the booth here, but it's a pretty cool opportunity where if you guys want to get that entry level price, which like 2350 for a small booth there, like there's still going to be a lot of cool stuff going in. So I'm going to paste that again here one more time in the chat. But
And
yes.
Daniel, while you're doing that, I'll just mention too that, we work so often with young emerging brands at our shows that we've got an entire library of kind of resources and little how-to, quick hit videos that kind of help demystify the whole process. So, we're here too to try and make this as easy as possible for you guys and, get you what you need to get to do the business you need to do once you're there.
And just to kind of explain to everybody about setup, because I saw some questions about that. So we have our startup CPG section. Honestly, we kind of model it after this section, which was the included section, because it was so beautiful. I mean, included is a super cool program. If you guys aren't familiar with it, they get these booths for free, which is we can't do free, unfortunately, but if you can apply for this incredible program where they're really trying to give massive opportunities to underrepresented founders. And I think there are like 8 booths. And so if you can win one of those, do that over our section. I promise you, free. Like if you can get that for free, it's so beautiful. And we're like, whoa, okay. So we love this clean look. So in our startup CPG section, this is what the tabletops look like. They are this size. And so you'll be able to basically have like a table skirt or whatever that goes over it, and you can have your product on it. And then there's going to be some room behind for storage. We like to keep a clean look where we don't have like pop-up banners or anything, just so it feels like a community aspect to it. But with these extra tabletops that SFA has unleashed, like it's not part of our section. You can kind of do what you want in those ones. I think they said they don't allow big backdrops because it's not enough space, but you can have like a roll-up banner if you want, have some good marketing material. I like keeping it kind of clean, and then I recommend to everybody, don't be caught standing behind your booth just waiting for stuff, because people will walk by you. Like Eric does a great job of this out in front of the booth. Flag people down. You see that buyer you're waiting for, don't let them buy you. Like set up a body pick if you have to. Like, oh, here, like, yeah, you're here to try this. Great. Set up a
You got to
spotter down the
be
aisle, like looking at badges.
you have to be shameless. There's a way to go to any trade show, not just Winter Fancy Food, and spend $100,000 and get no value out of it. And there's a way to spend $5,000 and get $100,000 value out of it. And it kind of just comes down to how much you're willing to hustle for it.
This is real. This is real. And even, like I think it's great if you can have a space like this at the show. A tabletop, it's a pretty friendly price point. If you're even too early and you don't feel ready for this and you're going to go and attend the show, like you can still make a lot of things happen at the show, which there's a lot, because the buyers are there. You can always talk to people, but yeah, you do have to be a little bit shameless also sometimes, and just be willing to put yourself out there and face rejection. But it comes with the territory, and this is the game that we all love to play. And there'll be all those other kind of cool events happening. And, we'll probably do some more content about how to like really make a go of it, even if you're just kind of walking the show for the first time. But I'm excited to see, anyways, a lot of our community out there. Okay, so I do have some more questions to go into with you guys. Let's see, we actually covered most of the stuff. So Eric, what would you say for like a brand that's trying to decide like if they're ready to exhibit at this kind of a show? Like when would you say is, because you guys did, I mean, you said this was your first one as you were kind of launching, like for you, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, for us, I think the decision was really partly about geography and partly about kind of opportunity costs, right? Like for us, geography, we're really focused on the West Coast right now. And we knew that there would be a lot of folks from the big West Coast retailers and food service um, locations here at Winter Fancy Food in Las Vegas. Also, interestingly, being in Las Vegas, there are a ton of like very big caterers, event-related people, importers, like those types of folks who are at the show. So if you have a product that you think you could see in like an upscale restaurant or in a cafeteria or in a hotel, like this is definitely a really good opportunity for you as well. For us, we knew we were early, right? Granted, the context here is we got the free booth from included, but we knew we were early. But at the same time, we also knew that if we were going to go on and do other trade shows the remainder of the year, which we ended up doing, this is, as we alluded to in the beginning of the segment, this is kind of the kickoff for the year. This is kind of how you can set the tone and figure out like, okay, am I ready for the other shows for the rest of the year? Do I have the resource to, support this with team, with marketing? Do I have like personally the time to do this kind of stuff? This is a very good barometer for it. And it's a barometer that, obviously like for us, it ended up paying off too in real business, real leads, real sales, and real conversations. So that's how I would kind of assess it if I were you. Obviously, if you don't have enough product to even do a trade show, then don't go to a trade show, right? Because the point of the trade show is then having enough product to sell to bigger retailers,
Yeah.
distributors, what have you. And if you have any questions about the nitty gritty of like, if you want to talk about things offline, like revenue stage or exactly what you need to bring, how many people, what to pay the people who are staffing your booth, if they're volunteer friends or not, whatever. Again, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can just DM us on Instagram and we can provide that information for you. And I'm sure in the Slack channel for Startup CPG, there are a million people who would put their hands up to help you out with this as well.
Yeah. And we try to coordinate a little volunteer matching. Like if you want to get some help for your booth, then you can kind of post that and somebody will want to come and work at your booth because then they get to go to the show and kind of get some practice and be part of it as well. So we'll have that in our Slack channel, which probably you guys are all in, but if not, you should join it. Okay. And then, so by the way, if you guys have any questions, please shoot them in here through the Q&A because I might have missed some in the chat. Anything you want, because we got plenty of time to cover them. One question that came in, Leana, was about if they do that entry level 2350 tabletops, is it attached to our section? Is it near our section?
It is. So what we're actually doing is taking the current section, which I think is 20 tabletops, and we're just going to expand it out. So it's going to be continuous. It'll be the whole community together.
Let's go. All right. Great. Okay. So Sherry, that should answer your question. So one thing I thought it'd be cool to just touch on is the difference between the Fancy Foods winter show and the summer show. And maybe I can give my perspective and, interested to hear Leana, and I don't know if Eric, you've been to New York, but so we were just at New York. For me, it's mainly like they're pretty similar shows. It's really more about which retailers are going to be there. And there'll be some overlap, but like, as a brand, what's your strategy? If your strategy is focused on getting some of those cool, like natural and indies and stuff like in the Northeast, like there are going to be a lot of them at the New York show. So when I'm there, I'm seeing Citarella there. I'm seeing the Wakefern team and, Village supermarkets, like they're all there. And a lot of those like, Wegmans, those kind of guys, that's where I'm more expecting on the West show. Again, some overlap and you'll see Whole Foods and some other national teams there, but then I'm also expecting to see more of the Gelsons, Harmons and, Bristol, those kind of people who are, with the benefit being you can get a little bit more time with them probably than at one of the like crazy madhouse shows. What do you think? Is that a good way to think about it, Leana?
I think it is. Yeah. A lot of the national retailers, will get at both shows, but when it comes to kind of the more regional players, and again, a lot of those regional players are the ones who really make up that kind of, I've heard it referred to as the innovation layer, right? Those folks who are going to take a chance on a product and help bring it to market, when it's still brand new, are definitely more regional. So you're going to see some different ones depending on which show. I will also say too that just, in terms of size, the summer show is about twice the size of winter. So there is probably, the way we stand right now, a little more opportunity to stand out at winter, and this idea that with it being the first show of the year and really being about putting a stake in the ground for what trends are coming ahead, what 2025 is going to bear out, it's kind of an opportunity to be part of that conversation, right? About what's really going to drive consumer, preferences, values, et cetera, in the year ahead.
Okay, great. So a couple other questions. One, Eric, maybe you can help with this. Jill asked if you have the link for applying to the included section. I don't know if they did it already, or if I don't know if you happen to know where that link is. And then also maybe Eric, you could think, she asked also about how much product. Maybe if you could think about that for a second and tell people how much, I'm sure everybody would like to hear. And then just make sure when you send to everyone, not just hosts and panelists, because I saw you just dropped the link in the chat here.
Oh, oops.
Okay, one question that came in, kind of an obvious one, like what's the high level difference between Fancy Food show and Expo West if we're trying to pick one or only have budget for one? So, maybe I'll just try to give a little bit of my perspective on this, which first, like I said, I love trade shows in general. Like, I've never done a brand with my own money, like bootstrapping it. So fortunately, I never had to make some of the hardest decisions that I think you guys do have to make. But I like going to all of them, honestly, because like I want those shots, and I'm a very sales focused person, and I want all the opportunities to talk to buyers and really move things forward because that's what I'm doing. But you do have budget constraints. So, I think for me, like, man, Expo West is such a massive show, right? It's like 70,000 attendees. There are 3,000 booths there. So, like, you know, all the buyers are going to be there, but then you have a question of like, do you get their attention at the show, and do they take time and actually stop and talk to you at the show? Like, when you go to some of the smaller shows, you find that like, whoa, I actually got a long conversation with that buyer, which you're not, just because of they have just like a lot of ground that they have to cover. And I would just say tons of places to be, tons of events to be at, and a lot of people that they're seeing, because it's like a big industry catch up also. So, there are differences between it that way. Also, I mean, it's a different budget level, also, which is, I think something to consider. Their all their attendee pricing is changing this year also, just so everyone knows. That's going to be something to watch out for. You may or may not be able to get a tabletop at SFA now for less than the price of attending Expo West. So just a little heads up for people. We'll be providing some coverage of that soon. So I don't know, Eric, what do you think? I mean, as a earlier brand.
If you're comparing it to Expo West, I would think of Expo West as like the Super Bowl of trade shows. It's really, really overwhelming if it's your first trade show that you're going to. And I would recommend dipping your toes in with a different trade show first, or at the very least attending, one or two on your own, just as, someone walking, or even better, volunteering with one of your friends who are in the Startup CPG Slack, because there are ways to go to trade shows for free as long as you're willing to put in some elbow grease and help one of your fellow entrepreneurs booth for an hour or two for a couple of days. Yeah, and there's also that difference of it's a different audience. I think we spoke about this at the beginning of the section here. There are different types of people who come to Fancy Food because there is, I mean, as the name would suggest, I know that you all are trying to shed a bit of the this is for fancy foods only, but there are a lot of really cool international products. There's a lot of really cool innovation that happens at the Fancy Food Show. Whereas I feel like Expo West is you have to, a lot of brands are there just to see and be seen. Whereas at Fancy Food, it felt like people were bringing something new and fresh to the table that was a little bit different. Granted, maybe every single buyer under the sun is at Expo West, and maybe not every single buyer under the sun is at Fancy Food. But I would say the vast majority are. And I would say it is a little bit more of a curated audience where you can have a little bit more of like a human conversation versus Expo. We felt like we were working one of our pop-up events, just slinging dumplings as quickly as possible. And if you are one of the more popular booths, it is kind of hard to get a conversation in edgewise.
And I think it also, I mean, it goes back to who's there, right? Like, you saw the list of the retailers who are there. I know that'll expand as we get closer to the show as well. Like, So if you are interested in those retailers and the kind of distributors that we're talking about, and kind of a, you know, maybe more intimate chance, because it's not like you're not fishing the same stream. Like, you know, it's, you're going to have more of a chance to actually catch people there. If those are the people that you want, then it's a good opportunity. If you don't care about retailers in the West Coast, like maybe this wouldn't be your first priority. If you're like, you know, going, if you're like trying to launch in Florida, like, okay, yeah, I mean, maybe there's someone from Florida there, but it's not going to be the focus of this show. Much like, you know, if you were focused on the East Coast, like maybe that would be, you know, Fancy Foods East could be in New York could be a better start than this one. So I think, you know, Eric and I are all for appropriate use of people's budget. And so we like to give you all the info. I can tell you, like, my role is to always try to get you guys the best price and better access to stuff, which is why we're so enthusiastic about getting the lowest price point stuff at the show, which is these tabletops, and then obsessively trying to make it a good experience if you do go. So that's sort of my role in all this, but I really, everybody should make a good decision for their brand and understand who's going to be there, what the opportunity is, what your other options are also. Leana, what do you think? Do we hit all the good considerations?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. You know, the only other piece that I would add is that, you know, we look at Expo West as, you know, it's a deep dive into the natural and organic side of things, right? You know, when we look at specialty, and it's funny, Eric, what you said, we're actually leaning very heavily into the notion of fancy these days, because fancy
Right. Okay.
means it's like, it's a little bit extra, right? It's like just a little bit different. There's something a little special about it. And we're really trying to lean into that. So, you know, I think there's from a, you know, most natural is specialty, but specialty is not necessarily natural. So there are ways that both events make sense in a broader strategy for an organization that has both attributes.
Selfishly, way more fun to walk around and taste all the foods at Fancy Food Show than at Expo. I promise I'm not being paid here to talk smack about Expo West, but the food that I actually had as samples at Fancy Food Show was crazy. There was the whole Japanese section. They were giving out
Yes.
premium premium fish all day.
And the
It's,
melon, there was some crazy $1,200 melon or something like that that was there.
yes.
It's probably the only time in my life I'll ever eat that.
Yeah, I had to stop our volunteers from running to the Wagyu booth every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I live in New York, that was my first thought, is like, oh, now I'm actually bringing a take-home bag to the New York show. There's a lot of very high value items there. I'm very excited for their leftovers. Cool, guys, please keep dropping the questions. We definitely have plenty of time, whether it's for Eric or Leana or me. Okay, so another question came in about how do you apply for the tabletops that we've been talking about. So we posted the link a couple times in here. Let me just grab it. Again, okay, I've just posted it here. So if you want to get the table booth, I've just posted the link that has the contacts. So reach out to the contact and just mention the Startup CPG section that you're trying to get close to it. And they will help you out with that. And just make sure you mention that you want the tabletop if you're looking for the kind of entry level price. Cool. I'm just checking any other. So somebody asked if you guys do pet food, I think.
So we generally do not. There are a couple pet food companies that are grandfathered into SFA, but the board made a decision a few years ago that we're going to stick with human consumables, if that's a phrase.
All right. Cool. Somebody asked if you can sample alcohol at SFA.
You can, but there are some hoops you have to jump through. So the sales reps that we mentioned in that link can kind of talk you through what's involved in that. You've got to work with the catering staff on site at the convention center, and there's some different ways that you have to follow, some different rules you have to follow for that.
I don't know if they're asking because they're an ALK brand or they just want to have a good time and make some nice mixers for a happy hour. Do you guys have ALK buyers there usually?
The only alcohol buyers we would have there are really the ones who are from kind of those mid-level and independents. I think as you get to the bigger guys, they're dealing directly with distributors.
It's a mixer brand. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, and then a couple of you have asked about maybe I would get a tabletop, but I want to see what happens with the giveaway. So the deadline is tomorrow for the giveaway. So it just gives you guys time, basically, who are on the call, a chance to finish entering that. And then we will just try to get them to announce very quickly so that everyone can, go ahead and grab it. I hope you, I would love for all of you to win. The chances, I don't know, one in however many people are going to apply that you would win. So I think best to plan for what happens if you don't win, but we'll be very excited to see who does win. Okay, so I'll post Eric just posted the entry form one more time, so you can go there and submit. And then I would just say, like, yeah, for everybody, make sure that you're in our Startup CPG Slack channel, because we'll be announcing a lot of cool stuff. We have a channel which is events_fancy_foods_Las Vegas. So there are a couple hundred people in there. We'll be using that to like stay in touch and help people find volunteers if they want someone to help at their booth, announce the events, share cool events they found out about that they want to try to crash and go to. So definitely sign up for all of that stuff. Somebody asked, are there kitchens on premise to do baking?
I don't know that there are kitchens per se. There are, you can work with the catering company everything filters through them to get those things done. So it's not necessarily directly in your booth, but you can work with the catering company to get everything set up for your sampling.
Eric, you were cooking. I mean, but how are you guys doing it?
We had a special section though that was dedicated to included CPG. They basically gave us like a small back room where we could cook in, and then we're just running dumplings back and forth from there. We had an electric skillet and a hot plate that we plugged in, and it just used an electrical power outlet. If you do bring something like a hot plate, just make sure that you coordinate with the show, or even just shoot me a message, like I said, on Instagram at Sobo Foods, to figure out how to do that. Because if you have too many things plugged into one electrical outlet at the same time, it will trip. There's also a question in here about how many samples to bring. So we brought 1,800 dumplings total. That was admittedly too much, but we wanted to over prepare rather than under prepare. The advice that we were given was to bring 200 to 300 samples per day. And that's per product as well. And we had 3 flavors, which is why we ended up bringing so many dumplings. But I think your mileage may vary on what types of samples that you're bringing. So if you budget out for 300 per day for each of your flavors or SKUs or whatever you have, I think that should generally be enough. But again, please go and reference check with other folks who have done the show in your category as well.
A couple other kind of like tactical savings tips. So one, if you're like a beverage brand and you want to have like cold stuff there, it can be kind of hard to think through. What I figured out is a collapsible cooler that you take with you. So I'm posting that link into the chat right now. It was a very long one because it went to the Amazon. Basically, it's a cooler that can fit like 50 cans in there. So you just take this thing with you, get some ice maybe in your hotel if you don't want to pay at the show to get it, but put your cans in there first, then put the ice on, put like 10 cans in there because you're going to be pouring samples, and then you get to the show and have koozies on the actual platform, because those will keep a drink very cold throughout, and then you just cycle in drinks into your cooler. That way you don't have to like go buy some expensive one, or like pay for a fridge at the show, which we love to save money. And I think, yeah, same thing with Eric was giving some tips if you have to like cook something. I've seen some people, you get a really nice portable battery, like a camping battery, and be able to run some stuff on that. But obviously you would want to practice that first and see how long that will last and make sure it's not going to conk out on you at a critical juncture. But yeah, feel free to just dump any other questions. We got a few minutes left here, but yeah, definitely. You got some experienced people here. Let me see what else came in through the Q&A. So, okay. A couple people asked about attending without a booth. What is the cost to attend without a booth, Leana?
So it's interesting. So the cost to attend without a booth is $500 to start. But if you join SFA as a member, it's $300 per company, and you get membership for the entire year. It includes 2 badges to each of our shows. And then you get all those other ancillary benefits that I talked about, the education, everything else. So I wouldn't even recommend you think about paying for a badge. Just join up as a member and you'll be good to go.
Okay, so that's a good deal. And then also, yeah, if you want to volunteer with a brand also, then check our Slack, because people do want help, and then you can kind of be there as well. So Tim Wang asked a pretty good question about, if you're coming from out of the area, how do you get your samples and products to the show? So like in my experience, yeah, you can do this through the show and you can pay, and then like usually if it's a big convention, like it's going through union stuff and it can get kind of expensive. Sometimes it's good to do that if you have the budget. There are also scrappy ways that you can do it, like if you're staying at a hotel, usually you can ship stuff to that hotel, or maybe you have a friend or like a friend of a friend in Vegas who might take some product for you, or you can take stuff with you, obviously, when you're flying and have kind of check stuff. But like stuff like that collapsible cooler is just to like maybe reduce how much stuff you actually have to like ship and take. But yes, you can ship stuff directly to the show through their site. You'll see what the pricing is on stuff like that. Then it becomes even more important to get the amount right so you don't pay too much for all the handling. Leanna, I'm like, you might look uncomfortable with my answer on this. I don't know.
No, no, no. I'm here for scrappy.
That's it, right, Eric? And did I miss any other parts of that?
Are you allowed to bring in whatever you can carry? Is that a policy? Never mind. We don't have to talk
I'm
about
going to defer to Delia on that one.
So it's not whatever you can carry, Eric, but we definitely do have
I can carry a lot.
carry-in guidelines and rules, and those will all be up on the website, in the next month or so as we're getting ready for the Vegas show. So yeah, there's definitely options to carry in. There's like drive up with your vehicle. There's options to ship ahead and it'll be stored. There's also options to ship directly to the convention center a couple days before. So lots of different ways to do it. We'll have some prep sessions as well as we get closer to the show to kind of help people answer those more specific questions as you're really thinking about how you're going to get your products there. But yeah, lots of different ways to kind of help everybody in any kind of way are thinking to get there.
Those are great ones for our Slack channel too, because you'll have some people who have done it a bunch in there before. And that drive up option, I can't believe I almost forgot to talk about that one, because I've done that at Expo, and the drive up option there is the best deal at the show. It was something like for 75 bucks, you can take whatever fits in your car, like which is almost a full pallet. If you have a big car, drive up, you get an appointment, you drop it, and then it will magically appear at your booth. So that's like a pretty good deal. Like, I don't know what the price is on this, but just to like save you 4 hours of sweating and taking stuff back and forth from your car. So that sounds like one I would definitely check out with SFA. Okay, so I think we covered almost all of this stuff. Trying to see if there's anything else. Jill was saying how we kind of decide who gets access to a table with Startup CPG. There are like a lot of criteria, honestly, that go into how the judges accept people into our section. It's very competitive. I always feel bad because we're just here as a community to help all the brands, but our opportunities are always oversubscribed by many multiples. So it's based on a lot of things, honestly, like it's going to be about, looking at the product and the mission, your participation in the community for sure is stuff that we look at. Like, do we see them from events? Have they submitted for our Shelfies program? So we've gotten familiar with their products. But there are a lot of very thoughtful judges who look at that stuff. And I'm sorry, because no opportunity can always be given to anybody. Like this thing, there will be a lot of people who don't get the free booth also. But like, we are here doing our best to help all of you guys. Even outside of the booths, we still try to provide a lot of opportunities to meet with retailers and all of that stuff. Okay, I think we got all the questions. The free booth winner announcement, I think it says there in the form, but I think it's just going to be a couple days. Like the form will close tomorrow, and then we will do it. And then
can I pop in with two last
Please.
pieces of advice that I just thought of? Daniel?
Yeah,
So
thank you.
One, the app. Use the app. We came with a bunch of pieces of paper that we were ready to fill out with leads, and don't do that. It was a bad idea. Use the app. If you think you can save money and write everything in your notes app, that also is a bad idea because it doesn't necessarily sync super easily between all the different people who are working at your booth. I don't know. I just found the scanning the badges super, super convenient. And then the other thing is plan for contingencies. Our friend Miles, who makes amazing mac and cheese, sent all of his frozen product in. This was not anything to do with the show. It was like a FedEx or UPS issue. Got lost, didn't work out. He's freaking out. He made all of his mac and cheese in an Airbnb that night, the night before the show, and it worked out for him. But if you can send things to a friend who lives in the area, or if you have founder friends who are getting an Airbnb together, those might actually be easier than sending it to your hotel, which, keep in mind, everyone's trying to send stuff to their hotel at the same time.
Yes, that I like that point about, like expect the unexpected with product. I once had our 3PL ship the pallet of our brand new SKU to a trade show, and they my friend who got it sent a picture, and it was a bunch of books. that had arrived, like so the
Awesome.
wrong pallet. And then we freaked out. And fortunately, somebody else really saved the day for us and sent in some product on a plane overnight because they felt so bad about it. Another 3PL. So that's a good point. Counterpoint maybe on the badge scanning, because it's like expensive. I actually am okay on just using my phone, but I also wasn't doing it as a big team. It was mainly just me, and I actually find that like if you scan their badge, great. I don't know how much that costs at the show. Sometimes it's a couple $100. Like you can do it on your phone. And I've never once, if I was talking to a buyer, had them say no if I asked for their email. A lot of times they don't have cards, but if you're like, oh, can I write down your email and follow up with you? Never once did they say no to that. And then I would just write at that same time what the thing is I needed to do with them. Like, oh, they're interested in this product, send them this or whatever. So for me, yeah, it's a little bit extra effort, but I will hustle to save a few bucks. That's just who I am.
That's fair. Yeah, your mileage may vary there, but
Nice,
yeah, they
yeah.
won't say no to you to hold them for 2 seconds and grab their email.
All right. So, guys, I think we're going to wrap up. I really want to thank Eric for joining us to share his perspective, because there's just nothing like getting it directly from a brand who's done it recently, and congrats to him on all of his success. And Leana and Delia and SFA, thank you guys so much for having this great show that's just enabled so many people in the industry and community to get their brands on the radar for a lot of important buyers. And then just from us at the Startup CPG community for making it really accessible to our brands with a very friendly entry-level price point. And, we know what to do with that and try to make the most out of it. So, I hope everybody has found this really helpful. Good luck to everybody with the giveaway, and definitely join the chat and let us know if you decide to pick up a booth there. And that's it. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so
everyone.
much,
Thanks for having
everybody.
us.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Take care.